Hello everyone, welcome to Glorious IAS Academy. Uh, I have a question for you guys. Uh, I'm sure majority of you are aware of the UPSC syllabus. Uh, Majority of you are aware of the syllabus, and my question is like, which part of the syllabus is so confusing? It's mystery for majority, but if you become pro in that area, you have very good chance of clearing prelims and even in writing answer writing. If you are good with that topic, you have very good chance of attempting a very good answer in mains. And prelims, clearing clearing the prelims becomes a k, it's just like it becomes so easy for you to clear prelims if you're good with this topic. So it's a mystery. Why is it a mystery for many people? There are a lot of people who come and ask me how to prepare for current affairs, what is the framework, and how to become better in this area. First thing, it's a mystery for many because of the fact that the syllabus of the current affairs in UPSC is so vast. The syllabus is not clearly defined. Syllabus is not clear. They just mention like issues of national importance, international issues, but there is no clearly defined syllabus for this. So that's first thing. And the availability of the source in the internet, there are like a lot of people who are getting confused on which article to read and which website to follow. The availability of the data is pretty huge in the internet, so this is also confusing, which source to follow, what to read, how to read, to what extent we should go. These are the two reasons. First thing, the syllabus is not clear, and the source is also there, like lot of sources. So which one to prefer, this is the thing. So I just thought I'll give you how the approach that I have, and why is this so important. See, when you talk about current affairs, trust me, in prelims 70% of the questions either directly or indirectly are related to current affairs. I can say like 40 questions directly you will see it in the current affairs, and 70% are related to current affairs only. And if you get 50 questions right, then you have very good chance of clearing prelims. These days cutoff is just 85%, 85, right? Around 85. And if you get 15 net correct, your score will be somewhere around 100. And every time I get like at least 20 marks more than the uh, prelims cutoff. The reason being, I'm really good with current affairs, and how I became better with the current affairs. It's not a one day thing. It took a lot of time for me to understand to what extent I should read the article. So I'll just give you what I did and how to approach the current affairs. Uh, Also in writing like answers in mains, you can use current affairs, especially for introduction purpose. You can use facts. If there's any Indian like rank, for example, if there's an answer related to corruption, you can write something related to corruption price index rank, how much India, what are the indicators are there. So current affairs is really important to clear everything, and you don't really become pro in current affairs within few days. It takes like years, 2 years, sometimes it takes even 2 years. So what is the agenda of this session? I'll explain you. So this is the agenda of the session. First thing, I'll give you the sources that I refer, and the time factor, how much time I actually invest, and how from which month of the year you have to prepare for current affairs, and how to prepare. This is the soul of this session. It's like you know how to read. This is basically the framework. I'll give you the framework here, and how to make notes online. This is one important thing, because unless until you make notes, you won't be in a position to recall or repeat. I mean, you have to revise, right? For that you need notes. I'll explain that. And this is the strategy, like how to recall things, and how to write answer, good answer, or how to attempt prelims questions. So this is the agenda of the session. One is sources, time factor, and how to read the news, and how to make notes, and how to revise. These are the topics I'm gonna talk about. So coming to the sources, like we all know, there are like tons of ways to understand the issue, and majority of the issues that are there in the current affairs, you can prefer any newspaper. It's completely up to you, because UPSC nowhere it mentions I am gonna ask you the questions from Hindu paper, or they don't mention it anywhere. It's more about, you need to understand the fact that you just need to understand the issue. That's more than enough. You can refer any newspaper but understand the issue. For example, if they mention uniform civil code, you need to know which article deals with it, like DPS, directive principles of state policy, background you need to know, and pros and cons. If they say one nation one election, you can prefer any newspaper, but these are the two newspapers that has way better content than any other newspaper, so people prefer Hindu, that everyone knows, and Indian Express. If you are like not so comfortable with Hindu, you can actually go with Indian Express, which is very good. The language wise it's good, and the column, there's a column called explained column. There are certain articles where they put it like explained, and they ask question and they explain it. This Indian Express is something that I read regularly, and after certain period of time, once you get experience, you can add one more newspaper. Like I mentioned, it's okay to go with any newspaper, because in UPSC nowhere mentions that you need to follow Hindu, but this is easier. And for editorial purpose, you can also use Live Mint, which is good actually. So what you have to do is choose the topic. Just go with the topic. It's not about just reading newspaper completely and finishing it. It's not like that. You can choose one topic. Let's say, like I mentioned, one nation one election. Choose that topic and search it in internet. You can use any newspaper, take points from that. Okay, that's what matters. It's not about which newspaper you are reading, but it's about how good are you with the topic. And that topic can be read in any newspaper, but these are the two preferred newspapers. And there's one more thing called Press Information Bureau, where it's government related. Like officially, if you need a good data, you can use Press Information Bureau. And in 2018, I think most, they directly took the statements from Press PIB in 2018 paper, I think 19 or 18. So this is also official source, so it's authentic. Same way PRS is also official source. You'll find bills, like recent amendments bills. One good thing about this is, like, you can just go through the provisions of the bill. If during parliamentary sessions they pass bills, right? Those bills you can find it here, but don't read everything that's there in the website. Just main provisions. What, like, the reason is, like, if you read the provisions, you can use those provisions in your answer writing as well. Then other than that, you can go with the Yojana and Kurukshetra magazines. These are like monthly magazines where they take the article and they explain it so well. And you don't have to read every article, but read something that you can use it for answer writing purpose. End of the day, your goal is not to become pro, but to write good answers so that they give above average marks. And articles in Yojana and Kurukshetra can they're like more analytic, and then you can take the facts from this. For example, if there's an article related to agriculture, you can use how much is the growth, and during COVID-19 agriculture played a very crucial role, how it was able to survive during that time. You can take such facts, like what is the growth rate during, India was growing with 3.7 rate during COVID-19, how it was able to do that. Those facts and the analysis, like what are the causes, everything you can use it from Yojana or Kurukshetra, which is really good. And other than that, there are certain there are people who skip all this. They'll just go with the monthly compilation or daily compilation. They, like, in few websites like Insights, IAS Baba Forum, Daily Civils Daily, they post current affairs every day. So there are people who read this. And also in download sections in these websites, you can also find monthly compilation. You can either choose this or this to do this. And Down to Earth magazine. This is also very good newspaper, especially for environment. You find direct statements from Down to Earth newspaper. Okay, so this is also preferred thing. Make sure you actually read this along with you know either Indian Express or Hindu newspaper. Other than this, you can also go with government websites, like whenever you open government website, you see the about column, you get to know about the departments, you get to know about that organization, when it was established and all that, what is the objective of that organization. And this is definitely the best approach. Once you choose, you don't become expert in one day, it takes time. But when you're reading, if you follow this, it's good. But these are like shortcuts, I never recommend. Like, reading compilation will not help much. When you do research on your own and find out the answers for everything, you have very good chances of remembering and recalling it. And after, probably if you start it now, after a year or so, you'll become so good with current affairs, and you'll be in a position to solve lot of questions, because that's what matters in the end of the day, solving questions, or recalling the points and writing, right? So this is just like shortcut, I don't recommend it. Just go with this. Okay. And these are the sources. And when you're reading the sources, don't get confused with like everything. Just choose something. uh, uh, Here, one thing that I want you guys to follow is like, go with go by the topic. Okay, it's not about which newspaper you prefer, it's about the topic. If you have the same topic in, you will definitely find the same topic in different newspapers, but choose the topic and understand the topic. Go by the topic. Okay, don't choose you it's not like you have to read Hindu, it's not like that. You can choose any newspaper, but understand the topic. And then once that is done, of course, some for some people, it's sometimes you get bored with reading the articles from the newspaper. That time, what you can do is you can go with there's an English news channel called Vian World is one. Before, there used to be a person called Palki Sharma. She used to explain it so well, so nicely, that like they even used to take maps. If they explain India China relation, they used to show us the map and where India and China have conflicts. They used to explain it so well. Even now, it's really good. Like, sometimes what happens, there are some articles where there'll be these VR news channel. After you see the news in VR news channel, after 1 or 2 days, I used to find the same news in the Hindu newspaper. So the explanation part is really good with Vian. And now Palki Sharma, I think she is moved to first post. So this also you can follow. And Crux also, like, you don't have to read everything here. You don't have to watch everything here. What you can do here is probably 15 minutes in a day, just like 4 or 5 clips per day. You can use Vian or Crux, and also Sunset TV, which is related to government official site, official TV channel. So you can prefer this, or for debates or discussions, if you need like more analysis, you can go with Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha debates. And other than this, I think every day at 9:15 in the night, like evening 9:15, All India radio channel, you'll find something called Spotlight Discussion. This discussion is so informative. People from the government, officers, like the directors or the experts, they'll come here and they'll explain the issue so well. This is also something which will help you to understand the issue better. You can just 15 minutes video, right? So you can go with this also. And these are the TV sources. Now let's talk about the time. How important it is to limit your time. Basically, in 24 hours, you also have to cover GS 1, 2, 3, 4, and then essay, ethics. There are a lot of things other than optional. Option also you have to cover. So limiting your time is important. There are people who just take the newspaper and sit and they read the complete newspaper and they'll take the whole day. Then what is the point? Like, you also have to cover the other subjects, right? So I would say 2 to 2.5 hours. If you are the beginner, it may take close to 3 hours, but make it look like just 2 hours in a day. This should be the routine. Like, every day 2 hours you have to give it for current affairs. Like I told you, it really helps you to clear prelims so easily. And also for mains answer writing, current affairs plays a very very important role. So limit your source like time also, 2 hours per day. That's one thing. And for 30 minutes you can watch TV channel like I mentioned in the source, right? Those TV channels 30 minutes in a day, remaining 1.5 hour either Hindu paper or the other Indian Express paper, you can go with that, but not more than 2 hours. This is one thing. Let's say you have prelims coming in June, so from which month of the year you have to start? This is one question. Before it used to be like you can follow only 6 months before that, like if the exam is in June you can start from the October. People used to say that, but now the question paper has changed. Like the UPSC is evolving. They're even asking questions like the topics that were there in the news 3-4 years back, 3 or 4 years back. So it's not clear like from which month of the year you have to start. There's nothing like that. If you become like, because the beauty of current affairs is, if the article is there in news today, then that thing will come even after 2 or 3 months. Like I said before, uniform civil code, that's always there in the news. One nation, one election, that's always there in the news. So uh, the, these topics will they'll always be the repetition. So make sure you read the topic and limit your sources. This one, but yeah, it's always preferable to start like from at least 1 year. If the exam is in June, start from the last year June month on, not more than that. But yeah, with time, once you start understanding the topics, you'll anyway see them, like the repetition is always there, so you'll become pro in that area. Like I mentioned before, this is the heart of this session. Okay, how, whenever you see newspaper, chances are very high that you first will go to the sports section, you read the sports, you see the news related to film, and then after that you just close the newspaper. This is what everyone does, but because you are a civil services aspirant, you shouldn't do that. You should read the proper like editorial and the articles that will help you to write a good answer and also to help you to clear the prelims. So what is the framework that you need to follow? What is the method that you need to follow to make to become better at understanding the article? First thing, whenever you see an article, don't just directly jump into it. First, understand the intent, like what exactly is the issue. So to understand this issue, these are the steps that you need to understand. First, reason. Why is that in the news? Whenever you see an article, make sure there might be, like recently there was a ethnic clashes, like especially in northeast Manipur area. What is the reason? Like what are the different ethnic groups that were fighting? Those names, why is that issue in the news? You can basically find that in the newspaper itself. And the reason is important because based on the reason you will remember the topic. After you understand the reason, you need to know why the issue has occurred. What is the historically, what is the reason behind that? It's basically like background, the knowledge, like what are the reasons. Once you see the data facts, if there is any report related to that, you can go through that. So it's basically building the knowledge, you know background you have to check. And for this, internet is the best source. You can use internet, you can use some websites like Drishti IAS or Insights. Other than that, current status, what exactly is the status of that issue? I mean, what is government doing? And I mean, they might implement certain schemes, they might come up with some ideas to resolve the issue or conflict, or they try to solve the problem, right? What is the current status and what is government doing? This has to be remembered. Okay, in this, something, these things will help you to write a very good answer. And you have to see the both sides of the issue, like what are the positives, what are the negatives. Sometimes what happens is, like, even though the news is there in the newspaper regularly, we don't see both the sides. Recently, like in 2023 mains, what happened, there was a question related to EV motors. Like basically now electric vehicles are there on the road, right, everywhere. So that's a hot topic. But they asked the advantages, like benefits. But I was able to recall only negatives that time. Like I wasn't getting benefit. Like what are the benefits with the? I was getting only 3 or 4 points. But for negatives, there are lot of negatives. So balance has to be there. Like you have to see both pros and also the cons. Like once you know this, you'll anyway with time, once you get the depth in the topic, you'll definitely have opinion, and suggestions are definitely important. Trust me, for every answer they'll ask you, either they'll ask you the causes, they'll ask you the impacts, they'll ask you the suggestions, what strategies will you follow to to resolve that issue. So this opinion farming is really required. So once you have this knowledge, you'll definitely get this. You'll and way forward. What are the different steps you do? Uh, so once you have all this, try to take the facts from the newspaper. For example, how much, like when you talk about the education, how much India is allocating for education, how much percentage, like the GDP, how much it is, what is, like India is the fifth largest economy, and it's going to be third largest economy. Every sector have points, like there are certain areas like infrastructure they mention, like every area you can when you talk about infrastructure, you can use this point everywhere in the answer. Most of the answers, infrastructure is needed. Agriculture, yes, infra is needed. EV motor, like EV vehicles, infrastructure is needed. So we, like you can use certain facts, like how, like currently how much is India investing, what are the different strategies that they follow during that investment process. Like everything, you have to have certain facts. Especially when you use facts, your answer looks, it's more like a jewel. It adds some value, and even half mark can change the result, right? So those facts, write it down, mug it up, because in exam hall chances are very high that we don't recall or we don't remember. So if you have a short notes that has those facts, that will definitely help you. So coming to the note making, uh, like this is equally important. Like when you have to like whenever there is an exam coming, and if you do not have a short notes, or if you do not have a notes, what will you read? So making notes is really important. And how will you make notes? There are different methods that people follow to make notes. Some people, they read the article, they just cut the article, and they paste it somewhere in the notebook. They do that. That will work for them. There are certain number of people who write it down in the paper, but that will take a lot of time. And also one method that you can also follow is, like, you can take A4 sheets, write the topic name. When you take the topic, just write it down. What, like, let's say uniform civil code, like I mentioned before. When you see that, you can, like, you can talk about, like, polity related articles, what is it, and what are the impacts, those things, you can mention it in the A4 sheet, and you can write it down. And if the issue is arising, like again in the newspaper, you can write it in the A4 sheet again, like new A4 sheet, and you can just attach it to the same A4 sheet. And you can staple it, you can keep it with you. Whenever there's an exam, you can just go through the topics. And having ready-made points is really important, because in exam hall, when you're sitting, like, you won't be able to recall anything unless until you have practiced before. Having ready-made points is really, really important. Write it down. This is one way. What method do I actually follow to make notes? First, like most of the time my current affairs preparation happens only, like, I read online. Like every article I read online. I follow multiple newspapers because I got like enough experience. So when I read, I just copy paste. Like I read the article. Let's say this is the Hindu newspaper and there's an article. I read this article, and if there are important lines, I just copy paste it in my notepad, and I'll save that notepad. Every time I read something related to this, I just add that in the same notepad. And with time, what happened, like, even searching this notepad has become difficult. So later what I did is, like, I started using Gmail as my notes. In mail, uh, you will have the subject right there. I'll mention the topic name, and under that I'll paste whatever the data related to that article, and I'll send the mail to my my friends or to someone. And next time whenever the same article, like same topic is in the news, I'll say I'll because the subject is already there, I'll search it and then I'll attach that to the next mail. So I'll have every data, like why is it news in January, why is the topic in news in like February. I'll have the data related to that in this Gmail, or you can save it in the drafts as well in the, and later on you can keep updating. This will work like anything, like because of the search column in that mail, you if you search you'll get the article directly, right? So this will help. So note making is important because in the end, like whenever the exam is coming soon, like if the time is limited, you can just use the notes for revision purpose, and even to recall the points and to have facts. Note making is really important. Trust me, this if you're not doing this, it's really difficult for you to recall, and chance of you clearing the exam will become less. How will I remember everything for my exam? Make mental association. So like when I mean people have different learning styles. For some people, if they just read it, things will enter into their mind and they'll recall, they'll remember, and they can recall. But for certain people, they have to do 10 times to the same time. For some people, they have to do 100 times. So what are the, like if you know the like learning style, if you know your learning style, it becomes very easy for you to recall it. Okay, you should know like how like I mean these topics are very interesting if you are interested to understand how the brain works, how the mind works, how like it's of course related to psychology. Like when of course like remembering things like people say practice makes you perfect. Like when the more you practice the better you recall. This is what they say. But what exactly is the background? Like whenever you do that, what happens is we have something called schemas and concepts in psychology. Just like whenever you have time, read about how schemas are formed, like how concepts are formed. These two topics will help you to understand how learning happens in humans. Whenever you read a topic, there will always be a neural network. Neural, like that information is will be associated with the similar information. Okay, and the more number of times you read the topic, the relation, like the bond between that the connections between that neurons will be more stronger, and the more stronger that neural connection, and the better chance of you recalling. And there is also something called information processing models. This Read these two topics, like what exactly is schema, what exactly is concept, and also read about information processing techniques. Like there are different levels of processing, like shallow level, mid level, and then deeper level. At shallow level you just read the alphabets, but you don't remember them, because it's just like you only see the structure of the alphabets. It doesn't help you much. At deeper level what you do is like you analyze the sound, you analyze the structure, you link it with the you compare that with the previously established like if you have that similar language information, you'll compare that with that information. So this information, if you understand how information processing happens, that will also help you to remember more. So understand your learning styles. In my case, I because I have notes for everything, I do the revision on regular basis. That will help me to remember. And once you are really good with current affairs, trust me, answer writing and prelims, these two things become so easy for you. Every time I'm getting at least 20 plus marks than the cutoff, especially in GS. And the reason for that is very simple. I become really good with current affairs, and that didn't happen overnight. Trust me, it took a lot of time, more than 2 to 2.5 years to understand how to read the article. So it doesn't happen overnight, but be little patient. Like you should have patience, and then once you do that regularly, you'll be in a better position to solve the questions, or to solve the mains answers. I think that's it. And thank you so much. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and do share it with people. That will help us grow. And thank you so much.